Welcome back to Straight Facts on Tuesday, joined by the brilliant LB and a wonderful Dan Potts. How are you both?
Very well, man. I'm feeling good. I'm sure LB is buzzing. He's got his trophy. You know, they've won to lift up. So yeah, we're going to talk
more
about
trophies than you win, mate. You know what I mean? Don't start. Don't start.
I've rattled him already. But yeah, no, I'm good. Cheers, Tom.
Good. I'm not. I'm depressed. I've got sports depression.
Yeah, you're going to go and find another sport. Has it got to that stage yet? Or?
Well, thankfully, Alex Pereira saved my weekend. You know what I mean? Smashing it up again in the UFC. That man's scary, bruv. Other than, UFC saved me because that was fun. But yeah, footballing wise, just Man United are the pitch right now, which I'm sure we're going to get onto in the show. But I did want to start with Man City, actually, LB. Yesterday, winning, or if you have a conversation backstage, winning your court case or winning elements of it yesterday. What's your sort of thoughts and feelings about what City have gone through, the victory against the Premier League and the associated party transaction rules continuation from now?
I think City proved what they wanted to prove. That the latest rules that they brought in were unlawful, and City warned the Premier League when they were bringing them in. Said, look, if you bring these rules in, we think they're unlawful. We'll take you to arbitration. We'll sue you. The Premier League clubs voted them in. City sued them, and it's been found that these latest rules are actually unlawful. So they're obviously right now not active because they need to go away and redo it. Great for City as well because two of our sponsors that had previously been rejected for being over fair market value, we've got another chance to get these through. So for the, not that affects us as fans really, but the club can try again to get these sponsors through. So that's a huge win because reportedly the Etihad deal is absolutely ginormous. So if they can get that through, that'd be great for them. But yeah, listen, I think it's embarrassing for the Premier League. You know, it wasn't that long ago that they lost quite a huge controversial case to Leicester City. They lost that, pretty poor, embarrassing. Now they've just lost another case. They found to have rules in the rule book that are unlawful, which that's not a great look. You know what I mean? If you're the sort of leader, of a competition, you want to make sure that the rules in your competition abide by English law. That's not the case in this on this situation. They've been found to be unlawful. So guess what? They've got to be removed. I think some of the media overplay it. I thought they overplayed it initially when everyone kept on saying that it's the end of football if City win the case. Never thought that was the truth anyway. But I think City will be happy. I think City will be very happy with the outcome. They clearly are very happy with the outcome. The Premier League, I think, are happy that they found that the APT itself is going to stay. Which, you know, I don't really think City have a major issue with that, because if they did have a major issue with that, they would have challenged it in 2021. They've not challenged it in 2021. They challenged these latest rules, or the latest rules that have now been removed. So I think this is why it's kind of weird, because City are saying it's a win, but the Premier League are saying it's a win. I think the Premier League are just happy that the full thing has not been removed, and City are happy that they've got a second chance.
And I think that's fair. I think I get what Nobbin said yesterday. In the eyes of the law, technically speaking, if I sue you today, LB, on 25 counts and I win just one of them, officially I've won because I've won at least one of the counts against you. I think in reality, you could argue, well, you won more than me because you won 25 versus 1. But I get how things are written in law. I agree. I think it's right that City have unearthed elements of the rules, because it isn't the complete associated party transaction rule. It's elements of it that are unlawful. So I actually think it's a good thing for football that has been unearthed, that has been challenged, and that will be rectified. Because if it isn't, then one day that could affect your club if it's unlawful. So we should be looking for the rules that we're all engaging in to be lawful and above board. I also think what's great for the Premier League, I totally agree with you. And we were talking backstage about Stefan Borsten, who always gets called overly biased towards City. I don't think that he is. Doesn't mean I agree with everything that he says, but he has been so down the middle with this. He said that there's been some big wins in this for City and some really big wins for the Premier League, in the sense of, I think the associated party transactions, PSR, FFP as a general rule needs to be in place. But as I think me and you have spoken about many times, LB, there needs to be some amendments to it. But sometimes clubs need protecting from themselves. I mean, I still think there are football fans that believe that next week Newcastle are going to go and sponsor their grass £4 billion a year They're not. That isn't what this case was ever about. So I actually think when you read the full articles, you read the full transcripts, and you listen to experts break it down, I think it's a good result for Man City. I think the Premier League walk away from it relatively happy. There'll be some adjustments to the rules. And I think that what I'd like to see now is the Premier League clubs move on from it, if I'm being honest, wipe their mouths, and let's get back towards making, focus on the football side of things. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, that is right. But the problem is the Premier League look like they're going to go down the same road again. The Premier League now reported that they want a new vote on new rules in the next 10 days. And City is saying already, whoa, the reason that you did this mistake in the first place is because you rushed these rules through. Take your time, chill. City have already warned. The case literally got released yesterday. City have already warned today, through our legal counsel, that they're more than prepared to go to court again if you put in rules again that are unlawful. The Premier League want to rush through these rules in the next 10 days. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They need to take the time, come up with a set of rules that they're happy with, that abides by the law of the land, Go to the club, say, right, lads, these are the new rules that we want to put in. Does anyone have any problems? A couple of clubs like say we don't like them. So you'll take their concerns, you'll go back to your lawyers and say, this club says it's not lawful. What do you reckon? They say, well, yeah, actually, they've got a point. Let's amend it. But this is where we got into a situation. 5 days after Newcastle, were bought in 2021, the Premier League CEO emailed the Premier League saying we need to get these rules in the next 4 days. That's on an email in the document. They rushed things through, and that's why they got themselves in this mess in the first place. Because they didn't take the time, and they look like they might be wanting to do the same thing again. So if they want to do the same thing again, City have already said, we'll go court again. You know what I mean? We'll do it again. So chill.
Is there not a fine balance in that, Dan? In the sense of you don't want to rush the rules through for them to be unlawful, but at the same time, if they feel that some clubs may put together, because obviously the tribunal has said there is a reason and a need for the associated party rules. It can't just be that Ineos sponsor Man United, I don't know, £1 billion a year. They're like, that just can't happen because it's not fair, because on a competitive level, etc., etc. Is it? You don't want to rush the laws through because you might make them unlawful. But if they take 6 months to get worded in the correct way and done in the right way, you may see a number of teams then behave in a way that makes the league uncompetitive, where teams are being sponsored ridiculous amounts of money that could lead to issues later on down the line. It feels like there's a fine margin here between being unlawful, but also trying to stop the horse before it bolts.
100%. I think that's why they want to get it done as quickly as possible. And to be honest with you, I actually do as well. Now, I'm with LB. I think the incompetence they've shown at times here, the Premier League, is looking quite embarrassing. At the same time, I don't think anybody has actually won this. I saw yesterday people say City have won this, and I saw titles suggesting that City have won this. And that's just confused people into thinking that perhaps they've got away with 115, or that they've got away with this or got away with that. Actually, they haven't got away with anything. They've just suggested that actually this law doesn't really look like it's written properly and doesn't make sense. Can you take a look at it again? And I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding over the last 24 hours, and I must admit, even LB, I had to speak to him and say, bro, what the hell is going on here? This is so confusing. And to try and put it in simple terms, like, I don't mind admitting that I'm pretty thick when it comes to anything to do with numbers, anything to do with finances. I got into this game because I could actually be into talking about football opinions, not talking about PSR and finance. I would have gone and joined a finance podcast if I would have thought I was good enough for that. But I have to say that in the last 24 hours, it's been confusing as hell. And from what I can make sense of it is City wanted to do something. Premier League said you can't. City have said, well, we think you can. We'll take you to court for it. And they said, actually, yeah, you probably can. Better change that law. That's basically what I can make out from it. Now, if I've got that wrong, then please tell me. But that's basically what it sounds like it is. So I don't see that anybody's massively won or lost here, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, you're spot on. And people like Stefan Borsum, there's a guy called Jan, his surname I can't pronounce. Again, I read their threads, and they kind of boiled it down into layman terms. And there's a lot of very good independent people out there who I think have been very unbiased about this. And you can tell that Stefan Borsum's been unbiased. Some people think some City fans have called him a traitor today. Other people are saying that he's a shrill and he's paid off by City. But I don't think he's either of those things. He's honest. He'll go, this is really good for City. And then somebody said, oh, yeah. I think some City fan responded saying, yeah, we smashed them, didn't we? And he sort of replied with, no, not really. They won on most. They won the arguments in most other areas. They're keeping the rules they want in place. There's some minor amendments. And I think that's the issue here, as you say, when it's sort of being even both statements from the Premier League and from Man City, I think have helped lead to that confusion, because City's opening statement was, we have proven that the ATP law is unlawful. But they haven't. They've proven that elements of the law are unlawful. But then the Premier League has kind of made it sound like, yeah, there's some minor little issues and not much we did wrong. Everything else is okay. Well, no, you've implemented elements of a rule that are unlawful. I do agree with you on that. When actually, I think it's a good result for all involved. And what's really interesting is that there isn't a single legal person in the world that I've seen state that this could impact 115 in any way, positively or negatively. But yet, I see that getting spun by journalists. Oh, what does this mean for the 115? Does it mean they'll get off? Does it mean they'll be found guilty? Every legal expert that I've listened to has said there's absolutely no correlation. They're not the same thing. I had people DM me today. Terry, when you're doing a video about Arsenal cheating, oh, when did Arsenal cheat? Well, they've got £200 million of shareholder loans. That's now against the rules.
It's blown up everything so mad.
That's not cheating. I'm sitting there going, where have you got this nonsense from that Arsenal have cheated? It's crazy.
But people are saying now, like, Arsenal were the ones that snitched on Manchester City, and that's going to screw them. They're going to be absolutely muddied for the next 3 years now. And I'm like, oh, are we? Let's see this evidence there. And I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, I think we'll be all right. Jesus, it's unbelievable. Like, people just want to blow it up. And the mainstream media don't help. You know, it's like listening to the news, isn't it? Everything's doom and gloom. And they do that in the sport industry as well. It's like, bang, everyone's in trouble. Arsenal are in the mud. They're going to be in the red. Brighton, forget them. They won't be doing what they're doing the way they're run. Everyone thinks they're run well. No, they're not. And actually, it's all been blown out of proportion. Manchester City just said, from what I can hear, oh, can't we do that? Can you actually check it? Yeah, it turns out we can, mate. You better change that law. Right, let's move on to the weekend games. That's basically what happened. But we've made a massive deal of this thing for 24 hours and everything's going up. And I just think, wow, this is extreme when really not much has happened.
Yeah. I would say when it comes to the media outlets, any journalist or any newspaper or any news outlet that uses the term net spend ever, disregard everything they say about the legal and financial side of football, because net spend isn't real. And if you say that it is, then you're lying to your public. Genuinely, no one that's an expert in these industries uses it, talks about it, references it ever. It's just not a done thing. So that's my personal general rule. As soon as I see Sky say net spend, I'm like, I ain't listening to nothing to do with you mugs when it comes to... I'll give you an example. This summer, in terms of net spend, Mbappe was free. But he actually cost near £300 million. So I've seen some Real Madrid fans online moaning why they didn't spend more money this summer because their net spend was low. Why is that? It's because the media keep telling people net spend's real. Fucking ridiculous. But no, as I say, I think it's a good win for City. I think what City have won is very good. I think it's great they've done it. And I do agree with City going after damages as well, because if they've lost out money, yes, they might be able to put those sponsors in place now. But people always say it's okay if you lose money, you can always earn more. I always think, yeah, you can always earn more, but you're never going to get that lost money back. It's impossible, right? So they have to sue for damages now because it's unlawful what they've done.
And other clubs apparently, because they reckon that there's been other clubs that have had rejections. So if other clubs that have had, because it's not just City who have related, everyone just thinks it's City who's got related. Other clubs have related party transactions, and they reckon other clubs now, because of this, could also look at suing the Premier League. So I don't know how the Premier League deal with that. Maybe we'll find out in due course. But yeah, you're right. If City have lost money due to a law that was unlawful, then they're more than entitled to claim damages if they can prove a loss.
Pauline here says Terry now thinks he knows better than anybody. No, I don't. See, this is the irony in this. I haven't said that net spend doesn't exist because I know. The experts have said it's not how clubs manage their finances. Therefore, I don't believe in it. If a cardiologist tells you what's good and bad for your heart, I'm going to believe him over a bricklayer, right? So when an expert says net spend isn't real, I don't care what a sports presenter on Sky says or what the Sun newspaper says. I'm going with the expert. It's not about me. It's about the opinion of an expert, not my personal opinion, my friend. Equally, by the way, I wouldn't take advice from a cardiologist about how to build a brick wall. I'd go to the bricklayer. Do you know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ. It's not my opinion. It's facts. But moving on from that, because it seems to trigger people. It seems to really trigger people when this sort of stuff, which I find interesting. Manchester United. I don't know what to say, boys. I was talking to KJ about half an hour ago. He said he's looking forward to the show. I love my job. I love talking to you boys. But I was dreading. I was hoping the news was going to have come out before we went live, because I thought it would dampen down my cooking. But he's still at the club. A meeting is currently ongoing in London between all of our senior execs There are some reports say that he'll go. There are others that say he may stay until the next international break. LB, what's going on, brother?
Well, what should be going on is that he should be getting fired. I mean, I hope, and I'm so Potsy hopes, I'm sure everyone who's not a United fan in the chat hopes that he doesn't get fired. But he should be getting fired because what we're seeing, what we're witnessing from Man United right now is shambolic. The performances are horrific. You know, you draw 0-0 in one of the worst games of the season. You have one shot on target against Aston Villa, and the guy comes out and says how great it is that you're keeping clean sheets. I mean, he's just an absolute joke. The guy's an absolute joker. Yeah, you don't know what he's talking about. I just generally don't know think he knows what he's talking about. He needs to be fired. I hope he doesn't because he's taking. I mean, you're 14th. You finished 8th last year, and there's still some United fans out there that want this guy as the manager. I don't know what's going on with these United fans that want him as the manager, man. Now, big up to all of you, yeah, because like I respect it, innit? And like I say, I want Ten Hag to stay, but I don't know how on earth when your club's 14th, when you finished 8th last year, yeah. What's this? Your worst starting? What is this? Your worst starting? Is it 14 years?
I think worst start in Premier League history. I'm not too sure about
okay. Worst start in Premier League history, and you're still backing him, bro. You know, you bought Ugarte, who's early days, but doesn't look like he's going to do much. Delit's looking a bit 50-50. You don't even play him sometimes. You know, he's still got Anthony there, who's just hilarious to watch. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe he's still here. He should have been sacked a long time ago. So yeah, I think they'll sack him because I'm giving the guys credit, and I think they have brain cells. But maybe they'll give him one more month. Maybe they'll give him one more month and say you've got until November. If you don't turn it around, you're gone. I don't know. But if it would have been me, I would have sacked this guy 18 months ago.
Yeah, I think they're holding on to him, aren't they? I think we would have been told by now if he'd have been sacked. I mean, if there's a meeting going on, how long's this meeting? Normally it's pack your bags, off you go, and we announce it. If it's taking longer than that, it looks like he's going to be given an ultimatum of you need to get this amount of results in the next few weeks. Look, I'm with LB. I can't believe he's still here. Terry's obviously really happy because he's an Arsenal fan, so he wants Ten Hag to stay.
Cheer me up, thanks.
Yeah. So look, I honestly can't believe he's still here. I think he's been poor. I don't see a style of play in 3 seasons. The things that's kept him here is trophies, and trophies is what matters in football. The one thing I will say is competing and winning trophies is definitely the 2 things that you need, right? Because otherwise you just be an Everton and go, oh my God, we won a trophy. Now to keep the manager and give him a statue. Manchester United are not that team. Manchester United should be at the very top. They're one of the greatest clubs. They're still one of the biggest clubs. They just don't act like a big club. And I think the new structure has got to now bring that back. The first thing they need to do is get rid of this guy. And if they get rid of this guy and they bring in Ruud to the interim and they go and get a Ruben Amorim, cool. But it looks like they want to go and get a manager from what we're hearing. Thomas Tuchel being mentioned as well was one that they're looking at potentially. I think they need somebody like that with a CV that says, look, I can take a team and I can do this with it. Ruben Amorim, a little bit of a different one, more of an Arteta type thing, although obviously he's managed before Arteta did. At a good level. I think he has a style of football that's clear. I think he's definitely improved some of the talent over at Sporting Lisbon and competed. But whether or not people want him or not, you need to get rid of this guy. He has been awful. And he's had everything that he needs. We come on here week in, week out, and we say he's had the money, he's had the players, he's had everything his own way. He has been given one thing that most managers don't get this time around, time. 3 seasons, still no style of play, no improved results. When you buy that many defenders and your best defender is Johnny Evans, there's problems.
Yeah. So it's facts. You know, I've got the things up here. Yeah. So this is according to Transfermarkt, right? So don't cook me if it's wrong. Since he's been at United, he's signed 21 players, and a total expenditure of 660 million euros. That's Transfermarkt data, not my information.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not being funny, right? This is the 3rd season. Man United should be title contenders. If you lose your next 2 games, you'll be in a relegation battle after 9 matches.
Mate, you're so spot on. Both of you are in that.
Well, but can I ask you a question then? Let me ask you a question then, Terry.
Go on.
Why is there still United fans out there that are still backing him then? What's going on here? So much going on, man.
Let me just add to that as well, Terry, because I totally agree. That for me, I do not understand why Manchester United fans are not all on the same page now, uniting together. It makes no sense to me whatsoever that there are still fans suggesting this guy can actually take you forward and get you into winning titles. There is no evidence to prove that. And there's the infighting between fans is mad to me. I don't get it.
So, yeah, great question from both of you. So I think there's a few things to discuss. Before we get onto Ineos and why he's still here, the fans. what I find hilarious is the two groups of fans that are really positive about him staying and really positive about him, really forceful in him going. Typically speaking, the two groups who for every single manager have either been completely in or completely out of that individual. And they just switch. They sort of switch like this each time. It's a different guy, whether they like him or they don't. But both those groups have been completely wrong every single fucking time. It's been a manager in, manager out debate. It's all about how sacking the manager was never going to fix us by itself. Sacking Ten Hag now doesn't fix Man United without a longer term plan, without being ruthless at the highest level, and over a period of time building a very competent, highly technical, very motivated squad. And I think that too many Man United fans focus on the low-hanging fruit of sack the manager. There's an element of keep a manager if you see progression. I can understand that. Tuchel did an interview, I don't know when it was from, but I saw a clip today where he said that everybody talks about football is about a process and your performances and the quality of football. But he sort of laughed and said, my experience having been at Bayern Munich, Chelsea, Dortmund, Mainz, he went, results matter more than the cold, hard light of day when you're brought into an office and told you're going to be sacked, or you're brought into an office and told you're getting a new deal. It's the results they all talk to you about, as opposed to the performance. He said, but the performances are underlying good. But I understand saying stick with Ten Hag if we're not winning, but the performances are there. There's logic in that. I understand sacking a manager and being so passionate about it and talking about this squad's good enough to compete and go to the top. I understand being so focused on that if we have a really good squad and we're in a good space. But I still think both groups are missing the point that it's going to take years to fix us still. That's the bit that I find funny, is they're not really focused on the true problem still after 11 years. I don't get why people are backing him. That question, LB, I cannot fathom. I think what we now see on social media is like the battle of ideologies. I'm so desperate to be right, I'm just going to die on this hill. And it's not just my club. All fan bases do it. And I don't like either group in terms of, surely you've got to be more balanced as a human being than this. And it's staggering to me why he's still getting... I had a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, who's a season ticket holder, send me a long message. I haven't even read half of it yet. Full support of him today. I read about a third of it, and I'm just like, I ain't got the time, Sid. I'm going to read it. You're probably watching, bro, and I don't mean it rudely. I'm going to read it properly later and digest it. But my initial thoughts when he said to me, I still think we're doing it too early. I'm like, bro, I know once in our history that our fans wanted a manager sacked, and we kept Fergie, and he went on to do greatness. But I'm like, bro, I think that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah,
Did you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, you're spot on.
And I think for me, it's we're I saw someone tweet the other day, Arteta is causing problems to Man United indirectly. He hasn't won a major trophy yet since his team's been playing well, right? But it looks like he might. So everybody has this, stick with him, stick with the process, it will work. I think Arteta might be an anomaly. How many other times as a manager with the experience of Ten Hag, been at a big club, been given this amount of money, and we'll base that money on, you can sort of use inflation because no one was spending that amount of money 10, 20, 30 years ago, struggled in the first 3.5 years, but then gone on to be a resounding, consistent success. I don't know no one can show me the examples of this. And that's exactly what I was saying at the end of last season. It wasn't just about winning the trophy. So the infighting there is crazy. When it comes to Man United decision-making, and I know we said backstage, people have a real problem with hope nowadays. Like I get, people seem to want to cook you for having hope in something, hoping that it works out, hoping that it's a good thing you're doing. It seems to be weird that people are calling you out for hope. I don't quite get where that's come from. But why I'm hoping this meeting is taking so long is I hope they're not discussing whether we should or shouldn't be sacking Ten Hag. I hope what's being discussed is these are the 4 or 5 candidates. This is who we've reached out to. This is their plans. This is how long it would take to get them in. This would be the compensation packages. Who are we just? I hope they're deciding on what the next steps are, as opposed to should we keep him or get rid of him. That would make sense why they're taking their time, because what I want to see is the manager gone at 5 p.m. and by 9 a.m. next morning, I'd love to see us announce the new manager. I would like to see a very quick turnaround. So the hope in me is that's why this meeting is taking so long. But I do have a horrible gut feeling, and I'm hoping this is a bit of PTSD. I'm hoping this is a little bit of just worry and anxiety is that they are genuinely discussing the idea of keeping him longer and giving him a few more games to turn it around. And the reason why that worries me is we have hired some very capable individuals that have very good CVs and very good words have been said about them. Every underlying number, every underlying metric, every story that comes out, there is, I don't see where the hope is. I don't see where the beacon of hope, the bright light in the distance that you can head towards, the horizon. Where is it? No one is, and that's the one thing I say about all the people still backing him. Don't quote Fergie, don't quote Arteta, because this isn't the same. By the way, when the likes of the late great Sir Bobby Charlton were backing Fergie in that period, it's all documented. It's all out there. They were talking about, look at all the great work he's doing behind the scenes, rebuilding the academy. He's building up this young squad. He's been getting rid of the drinking culture. There's things he was doing that you could articulate was going to yield a return in the future. Where is that now? It doesn't exist. So, yeah, the backing of him is crazy. The infighting amongst Man United fans, stop it, because both of you groups have been consistently wrong for 11 fucking years. So watching them fight. Do you remember that thing that went viral years ago? Was it called bum fights? Where these guys would get two homeless people to fight on the street. Do you remember that? It was like a big trend when I was younger. This is what it's like watching the Ten Hag inners and outers fight. You man have been wrong about the sacking or keeping every fucking manager at this club in the last 11 years. And here you are, still battling over a fouled ideology that the manager is the most important part of a football club. Whether you want him in or out, he isn't. It's bigger than that. Wake up and smell the coffee, and fingers crossed Ineos are going to do the right thing in the next few hours and dismiss this man, because I don't hate him. I don't have a bad word to say about the guy in reality, because it isn't personal for me. What it is, I want to see my club improve. I think we're doing good things behind the scenes, but we are the coaching is awful. The basics of my team, LB, Dan, I look at your two teams. I look at your two teams, and it makes me so angry that how well you pass the ball, how easily you find it. I look at my team, and it's like they've never played fucking football. It's mad.
Yeah, you know what as well, right? Is it like I don't know if I've said this to you before, right, on a straight facts, but I'll say it now anyway. I'm quite surprised that Ten Hag himself didn't consider leaving in the summer, right? Because if he would have left in the summer, I genuinely think he could have spun it and left with a bit of positive. You remember when Mourinho left, right? At the time, most United fans wanted Mourinho out, right? And then he left, and then what did he say? He said, "Finishing second is the best thing I've ever done in my career with that squad." And everyone went, what? And then what was it? 12 months later, everyone was like, oh, fucking hell, you know what? He's right. And it was weird. Mourinho's stock at United went up when he won the trophies, and then it went down. And then obviously he got sacked. Then he said that thing about that was the best thing I've ever done in my career. And everyone was like, shut up, mate. And then a year later, everyone was like, maybe he was actually right. If Ten Hag, my point is, if Ten Hag would have left in the summer, having won a FA Cup against City, yeah, and then Carabao Cup the year before, he could have left. He could have left in some sly dig, yeah, and just said, to win a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup with some of those players, it's insane. First of all, a lot of United fans who hate the likes of Bruno, Rashford, any of the other players, they would have all been like, he's called out the players. It was the players, not the manager. And then if United had a bad year, which is very possible with a new manager, everyone might have been sat here going, oh, Ten Hag was right. You know, I think Ten Hag made the wrong decision. I think he should have left.
No, listen. I think you're right. Again, bad advice. But it's like I was saying about the fans fighting over managers. Most of the current very potent Ten Hag outers were the same people under Jose that said this squad is good enough to win the Premier League. Jose was the only reason we weren't winning it. The squad was good enough. 12 months later, oh my God, there's problems. So what I will say is this: sacking Ten Hag, I do not suddenly think within 3 weeks we are going to be consistently playing as well as Arsenal and City and Liverpool. It's still going to take us time. And that's my worry even about sacking him now, is that everybody's going to build their hopes up. Whoever's coming in as a saviour, and we're going to be this amazing team very quickly. It won't work like that. The squad isn't good enough yet. The culture needs to improve, and this stuff takes years to fix. But we just don't see that for some weird reason. And that's what makes me more angry than the manager, is our fans don't want to accept the reality of the situation.
But actually, what could happen here, though, is crazy to me, right? Let's just touch on the Ten Hag thing, and then I'll come back to what I'm going to get onto, right? For me, comparing him with the Arteta thing, for me, it is absolutely crazy, because as much as when we were coming 8th, 5th, I did want him out, at least we were progressing, right? And you
had a style of play.
We had a style of play, and he was buying bring people into the club that actually were making us better than what we were, right? So you could see some form of progression. I don't see that with Ten Hag. And when you say that, like there's kind of people out there that still are backing him, if you're actually going to say today, we'll give you more time, what are they expecting this board of? What are they actually expecting in the next few games? What has he got to do? Has he got to now, from now to the end of the season, somehow miraculously get Manchester United playing Champions League football and winning a trophy? Is that what's keep his job? Because that is just not going to happen. So for me, if they're going to give him time, I ask why. He's been given so much time already. What are you miraculously expecting, right? And for me, the fans, I don't understand. Things could actually be quite good at Manchester United in 2 years' time. And I'm talking about 2 years, not 20 years' time, by the way. And I'll tell you why. Because they've got everything now, apparently, in place that you need to be successful. They're rich. They've got a hell of a lot of money. They've got owners that will spend money. Yeah, they've neglected the club in terms of where it's been spent, but now they're giving it to people who know how to spend it. If you've got the right manager and the right recruitment team together, in 2 years, 4 transfer windows, you could actually be competing. That's how crazy it is. Yeah, it can turn around that quickly, football. We've seen it before. Yeah. So I don't really understand why Manchester United fans want this guy to stay with the current crop of players. We believe with the 21 players he's brought in, they've all been fantastic. We think they're all definitely understanding him and a style of play. He will get it right. Just look at Arteta. It's actually nothing like Arteta, in my opinion, because in 3 years, I'm still scratching my head as to what Man United's side is the best side. I'm still looking at the players thinking, are any of those actually half decent in terms of the new recruitments the new recruitment structure that you've got? And then I look at things now and I think, yeah, it is that man. So if the new structure is as good as you believe it is, with Ashworth, with Wilcox, with obviously Jim Rafford coming in, and these guys, if you think they are the footballing men to take your club forward, then trust in them to get the next appointment right and actually look at the recruitment together as a team and go, right, we're starting from scratch. Everything else has been changed. The manager is the last part that hasn't been. Now let's change him. Let's give it to whoever you want and we'll go forward with them. I can't believe fans aren't with that.
Yeah, but United fans are now starting to doubt Ineos, bro, because, a lot of United fans are now saying, why are they taking this long? Like, are we, are Ineos on fraud watch now? I've seen some people saying, because, like, United fans are saying, why are they taking so long? It's blindingly obvious this is not the right manager. Some of them said it should have gone in the summer. Okay, you won the FA Cup. They give him another chance. You sat 14th after 7 games. You won 2 games. It's the worst start in Premier League history. Get him gone. Why the delay? And this is why, Potsy.
Do you think, LB, let me ask you, because you're a City fan, you're obviously rivals with them. I know you're not at the top at the moment, but they are one of your biggest rivals. When you look at it, do you think what they've done so far has been like, fair play? Or are you a bit like, huh? Because as in this new structure that's come in with the recruitment.
I said when Ineos come in, I've said on this show last year, I thought you guys are going to be on the up.
Yeah.
From a footballing point of view, from a City fan, obviously I'm buzzing. From a footballing point of view, I've been very disappointed to see what Ineos have done with United. I think the signings have been massively underwhelming.
Yep.
I think the fact that they kept the manager, they didn't have the balls to sack him after the FA Cup win. The fact he's still here now after 7 games with only 2 wins in the Premier League, the worst start in Premier League history. I look at him and think, Ineos, mate, like, you're not looking too good. This is why, for me, they need to get this guy sacked quick time.
They do. I would say this about people turning on Ineos is the fact that this is my concern. The people that want Ten Hag out right now are correct about him as an individual. But I worry about their ability to digest and understand the real deep-lying issues at the club and how long they're going to take to fix. It's going to be a good couple of years of it progression to where we can get to where you're mentioning there, Potsy. They need to have a little bit more faith, and we need to stop flying off the handle every 5 minutes. I understand that there is this kind of, no, I've got high standards and I'm going to kick off and moan about things if things aren't where I want them to be straight away. There's the debate I want to have at some point, but it's going to kind of need Arsenal to win the league to do it. I find it interesting that Arsenal become and the reason I say that is I feel like when Liverpool are at their best, and forget what Real Madrid fans do for a moment, because that's their club. When Liverpool were at their best in the Premier League era, the social media era was in its pomp. Liverpool fans are probably the most unified and balanced and happy fan base out there. They delivered on the pitch. City fans are pretty balanced and happy and uniformed, and they improve. Even when you have a bad game, it's like we remain cool. Arsenal have become a better football team since the majority of its fan base have become far more reserved, maybe a little bit calmer. Now, I'm not saying that you don't like having high standards doesn't mean flying off the handle every 5 minutes. So there's part of me that sometimes feels, again, it's a train of thought as opposed to whether it's a fact. You can be angry and frustrated, But how about as Man United fans, we keep our powder dry for a little while? Get rid of this manager, cool. Bring in Tuchel. Give it all some genuine time. I'm not saying 6 months in, we've only won 3 games. Don't be angry, because that's, again, you're going to the nth degree. I'm talking about, to understand it's going to take a good few years to get a squad that's genuinely good enough to compete with a City team on a regular basis. Understand that. Remain patient. When things don't quite go how you want them to, call them out, have a conversation. But you don't have to go straight to the club's on fraud watch. This is happening, that's happening, because then the media jump on it, rivals jump on it, and the pressure builds up. And rightly or wrongly, our players and our club haven't been able to handle that pressure in the last 11 years. So when I hear we have to be on it and act this way to get our club to improve, my question is, we've been like this for 11 years and we ain't fucking improved. So maybe we have to look at ourselves and, as fans, go about it a different way. Maybe we are also not helping. And it's a theory. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying it's a fact. I'm just looking at it and thinking to myself, I want loads of things to change at the club. Maybe as fans, we have to kind of change, because we know the standards ain't right. And I don't know if you guys saw Phil Jones. He was doing a show with
yeah, I've seen it
with Rio, and he was talking about the dancing in the dressing room. Now, it was a contentious point at the time because a lot of people made it about race and discrimination, and I understand that, because there are lots of scumbags out there that do make those conversations about race and around where somebody is from, their religion or their background. But when you listen to the United players who had the high standards, who worked under the greatest manager, and this is what always worries me about Standard FC, because Standard FC are the first to turn around and say, the Man United Standard FC people, the first to go, fuck the past, fuck the Fergie era, fuck the legends, we've got to move forward now. But as soon as things don't go right, they go, I got high standards. But your high standards are based on the people that you're saying fuck off to. It doesn't make sense. So you can only have high standards for Man United if you fell in love with the club during a time where the standards were high. But yet you don't want to listen to the people that set the high fucking standards. It doesn't make sense to me. I listen to what Rio Ferdinand said, and he was like, when I saw United in 6th and Man United players dancing and being happy after games, it was just the optics of it. But then it was speaking to Rio, and speaking to Rooney, and Rooney was like, I can't believe what's going on. But there's so many players at the club now that think this is okay. I can't turn it round. All of these little things have to change at Man United. And I just feel that, again, I'm not calling out Paul Pogba and Lingard for dancing. It was the culture at the club at the time. But all these little things are not going to be fixed just by sacking Ten Hag and bringing in a better manager. All these things are going to take, that's why I think it's going to take years to fix. But if you really care about the standards of the football club, you have to listen to what winners at Man United or in the past have said. And if that means calling out your favourite player for their own personal behaviour, you've got to do it. My issue with a lot of people is they pick and choose when they want the club or players to have high standards, depending on who the individual is and whether they like them or not. And I think all of these things fundamentally have to be addressed. And people have got to learn to be balanced and unbiased with it. And I think listen to the successful people, personally.
Well, I'll just come in as well. I'm interested to hear Potsy's view on this. Yeah, listening to everything that you say in there, you sound like a confused football club, and this comes from leadership at the top. You don't know whether it's your manager, you don't know whether it's your players. Your fan base is arguing about your players. Your fan base is arguing about the manager. Your fan base is now turning on Ineos. Your fan base still moans about the Glazers. You're talking about your stadiums all the time. You know what I mean? It's complete chaos. Yeah, and it all stems from a lack of leadership. It all stems from a lack of leadership, a lack of direction, a proper plan. Because since Ineos come into the football club, I've not been able to see, as a football fan looking in, who's not emotionally invested in a football club, any real change in direction. It just seems like it's more of the same. And that's why I think some United fans are starting to get the hump a little bit with Ineos, because they're saying, what's going on? This is just the same as what it was with the Glazers. So the Ineos now, they've got no excuses. They've been in there a long time now, They've got to get control of this situation. They've got to sack him, get a new manager in, and then really start pulling the strings on transfers, getting some players out that they need to get rid of, and getting the club moving in the same direction. It just seems to me, looking in from outside, just a club that lacks leadership, and that's why everything's just in chaos.
Do you know what?
Agreed.
I've got to say, if you go back to the Arsene Wenger. Actually, let's not go back that far. Let's go back to the start of Arteta with Arsenal fans, right? There was a section that thought, what the hell is this? Why are we bringing in someone that hasn't managed a football club before? The results are absolute shambles. We need to remove them. There's another section of the fan base that said, no, let's give him time. I'm not prepared to just keep sacking managers. Winning cures all. Because for 8th, 8th and 5th, everybody that was patient was starting to think, crikey, maybe they're right. But until we started to win games, all of a sudden our fan base start to unite a little bit more. Because I think, you know what? This is actually, fair. Oh, wow. Oh, my God, it's really good now. We're challenging. Winning cures all. That means, essentially, you have to find a manager that is going to be able to get this current crop of players, which doesn't look the best, winning football matches. Now, I don't think it is the best. I don't think you're going to be in a title race. But you know what? You could quite easily still turn your season around if you've got the right man in charge to go and win a trophy and potentially fight for European football. The side is not great, but it's not like, oh my God, this side should be floating around 12th. It's not that sort of level of squad.
No.
So for me, I look at it and I think it could quite easily get somebody in. Let's just say it's Thomas Tuchel, right? Let's just say it is, if that's the rumor. Let's just say he comes in. He's got a CV of knowing how to win games. He's got trophies on his CV as well. He's also managed in the Premier League before, and he knows what it's like to come up against some of these teams. And also, he knows what it's like to be a big club, right? So it's not like he's only really managed, Legia Warsaw, and then he went to, sort of Porto level. Sort of, he's actually gone to a huge club before in Bayern Munich. He's been at Chelsea, he's been at PSG, Dortmund as well, to be fair. So I think you could look at that and go, right, what can he get out of this group of players? And if it is only good enough to get 6th, the majority of your fan base will then start to go, right, okay, now let's actually look at this and go, we're uniting. We've got money. We've got Glazers that are willing to spend. We've got actually structure behind it. We've got a good winning manager. And now we're starting to play good football. Yes, it's European football. We don't want to be there. But the next level is Champions League. The next level is competing. That's what Man United have got to try and get to, mate. And when I look at the infighting at the moment, I think it's insane that you've actually got a section of your fan base that are sticking up for Ten Hag because they think overnight it is going to change into, look at what happened with Arteta. It's completely different to Arteta. There is no progression whatsoever at Man United under Ten Hag.
I especially not in the league. I completely agree. And LB, what you said was so on the money. It is a confused football club and fan base. And I put myself in this. I'm not speaking outside of that the whole way through this, but I have certainly at times been more forgiving of certain players than others on a preference level, certain managers. I was far more forgiving with Jose when he started to fail than I was with, say, Ollie as an example. But that's because I thought that Jose's pedigree was there maybe. But all of these things have gone wrong and the culture got eradicated because we had an ownership and leadership team for too long that listened not to the fans per se, but they were reactive to the fans. So Jose was doing quite well. And then he didn't want Pogba and Martial to remain. And so many people in our fan base turned on him because of that. And he'd just been given a new deal. But the Glazers said no. Essentially, the fan base want them. They're great for our commerciality. We're sticking with them. It lost all the control and power that he had as a manager, and it was eroded and eradicated. And I'm not blaming Martial and Pogba. It isn't on those two individuals. It was on the people running the football club. And I think this, and that was also in the era where we were telling the manager, you're in control. You've got full power. And then we were pulling the rug from underneath their feet. All of these little moments, and there's dozens of them, have led to where we are now, where we are a Frankenstein football club. We legitimately are, LB. You're so spot on. And the fan base is torn. And we want this and we want that, but we're not patient enough for that. We don't understand that it's going to take time to fix the culture. Now, some people go, I don't think there's anything wrong with players having fun after a defeat or sitting 6th in the league table. And I understand where they're coming from. But you need to... I had an argument with a United fan years ago. I don't know where he is now. I don't see him on socials anymore. He told me, and I'd love to throw this at you two. This is when Liverpool and City were at their pomp. It's like 2019, 2020. He said he doesn't believe that during training or after games, during games or after games or in training, that the Man United dressing room and the behaviours in there is any different to that at City or Liverpool. He thinks that the behaviour, the attitude, the preparation, the concentration, the seriousness, he don't believe there's any difference between how Man United's players behave and conduct themselves versus the Liverpool and City players.
I don't know about that.
And that was
mentality certainly doesn't show it, because I look at players like Rashford
Yeah.
and Bruno, and I think, well, your mentality at the moment, in my opinion, is a shambles. I mean, particularly Bruno as the captain, he's getting sent off more than he's scoring goals. Marcus Rashford, although he did play well against Porto, and I don't know why he got subbed off, to be fair, but that's another question. For me, I feel personally like he has been underachieving and overrated for a very, very long time now. I think there's a definite mentality problem at Manchester United. There definitely is, man.
There certainly is, and I think that the problem with it is that there are certain things I think you can equate to I think you can equate everything to normal working life, but you have to understand the levels of it. So I think when you're a professional football player, with the money you earn, the fame you get, the power you have, that is akin to high-level jobs in law firms, high-level jobs in banking or the government. It isn't the equivalence of somebody that is, one of my first jobs, stacking shelves in Superdrug on a Saturday, right? If we haven't had a great week in the Superdrug store because a few cashiers have lost some money, but I'm out the back in the staff room having a laugh and a joke in my lunch break, that's not a mentality problem per se. But if I work for a major bank and we have had an awful quarter where we're down on money, we've had 2 massive regulation breaches where we're going to be investigated by the FCA, and I'm in the staff quarters laughing and joking about it, making TikToks and dancing, and my MD walks in, I'm getting ripped apart. Again, if I'm doing that in the pub with my mates on a Saturday, there's no issue. But if I'm doing that in the place of work when it's going wrong and I'm in a high-profile, high-paid job, you are finished. And sometimes I think the problems that all fan bases have is that we cannot comprehend the level of responsibility that comes with a high-profile, highly paid job if you've never been in that environment. And I think that is where, again, maybe as I've got older, I've got no issue with the clothes that Paul Pogba wore or his haircut. I don't think that's a mentality issue.
Yeah, that'd be wild if you did.
No, of course it is, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What I now look back and do have an issue with, I think there's a time and a place for having fun. And I don't think that is in the changing room after a defeat when you're sitting 6th in the league table. I think you have to be responsible in how you look. In fact, you should be in such a bad mood straight after a game in the dressing room that you don't feel like dancing and partying.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think it's getting the balance right.
Bro, it's like these, Mason Mount on Instagram, smiling on his Instagram story saying, "Don't worry, lads, I'm all right." Bro, you just lost. Is that when you lost 3-0 against Spurs?
Yes. Rasmus Højlund, midweek, putting the thing out
on Instagram or whatever.
All of that I put into that same category. It's almost a case of none of you, and this has been going on for years, are reading the room. And the irony is, some of the players doing it now didn't play with the Jesse Lingards and the Rooneys and the Pogbas, but behavior and culture transcends to people that come after you because it's like a lasting effect. It's an echo that doesn't go away. And all of this needs to be addressed. And the one thing I remember saying to you boys on this show when we kept Ten Hag is my thoughts are the rebuild of culture amongst the dressing room is easier with a new coach. And I felt that we would progress faster if we got rid of the manager. And that element under Ineos is definitely a mistake. And as I say, from my perspective and point of view, so much needs fixing at this club. Nothing has really changed. But Ineos have made a mistake. And I think we have been set back a good few months. And I do hope they're not going to give it another 4 weeks, because that is just another 4 weeks of waste that could be used to coach the players. You could start now. You could start today improving the surroundings at the club. But look, we're going to wait and see what happens with this. Look at Bruno, who gives a 30-year-old a 4-year contract. I mean, yeah, you can throw that in there 100%. I think you've got to look at these things here. No, that here saying that they've no, that's not true. I just checked for Rizzio's Twitter feed. That isn't on there. I got really excited for a second then. Super chat here says, results aren't that important right now. It's the stuff you don't see that is going to make the team get results, but you have to do that first. I think it's a combination of both. Results also matter as well, but there's just no way the right things are being done behind the scenes. It's too chaotic. 2 of my favorite sports teams were like this. I think it means Arsenal and the Lakers. It took the Lakers 4 years from 2016 to 2020 to win the championship. United will come back when you give constructive criticism, no favorites. Yeah, I hear you. Question for the panel. Keeping Ten Hag earlier this season was a mistake. When Ineos decided to keep Ten Hag again now, is it going to be another mistake? How many mistakes until we realize Ineos are clowns?
Well, you're right. Clowns is a little soon, but you are right. I think it was a mistake that they kept him in the summer. It's a mistake if they keep him now. How long until we say that Ineos are clowns? I think if Ineos give him to the end, if it comes out that Ineos are giving him to the end of the season, I'll call them clowns. If they give him another month, then that's up to them. I still think I think that's like semi-clown. Yeah, but if they say to the end of the year, then they're clowns.
Agreed.
Yep. And but again, it's little things. I've listened to what you said last week, LB, and I agree with it so much. If we've done all this to eradicate support for him, the new guy comes in and we really start to progress quite rapidly, then maybe it's all going to start to make sense. And I think that's why I'm not making any overarching statements about Ineos right now, because I believe they have to be given time. But I do think keeping him now would be, I don't see any mileage in keeping him now. Viewers, hit the like and the share button for us, and please make sure you are subscribing to the Football Territory if you haven't done so already. I wanted to ask you guys about Liverpool, because big story today that Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk are all at an impasse with the current board. And I had to Google what impasse means, but basically means stalemate. And conversations over new deals for all of them have stopped. There is the potential for all three not only to leave Liverpool in the summer for nothing, but they could all sign pre-agreements in just over 4 weeks' time with new football clubs. How bad a news is this, LB, for Liverpool?
Horrific. But, Liverpool fans don't like hearing it. They've got their head in the clouds, man. No, everything's fine. Everything's fine. You know what I mean? When we called it out in the summer, we was on this show and we called it out in the summer that your club ain't signing no players. Oh, Slot just wants to assess the team and then we'll buy everyone. You bought Chiesa. That's it. Yeah. Oh, the players are just assessing the contracts. The club have offered them the money. The players are just thinking about it. Then Salah comes out and said, they've not even offered me a new contract. Liverpool fans need to wake up, man, and smell the coffee. The way your club being ran is absolutely ridiculous, mate. No signings. These players are still not signed the contracts, yeah? And you just all sat here chilling. When I called it out in the summer, and I got loads of abuse from Liverpool fans, you know better than the club. I'm just saying, I'm just going off the current evidence. And the current evidence is at the end of the season, 3 of your best players are all leaving the football club and you've not signed anyone. Do you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. Neil's sit there, yeah? And then when Trent leaves on a free to Real Madrid, Van Dijk goes Barcelona, yeah? And who's the other one?
Salah.
And Salah goes somewhere else. Yeah, he'll probably blame my club and he'll just spam 115 in the chat. Because what they do, they're not able to criticize their club or hold their club to account. So they just sit there, take everything that's thrown at them, and then blame someone else. And Neil, sound mate. Do you know what I mean? You think we're getting relegated? If you let Trent leave, Salah leave, and Van Dijk leave, I'll see you in the Vanarama League myself, mate, next season, because you're going to get relegated as well. It's a disgrace what they've done. What they've done at that football club is a disgrace. I call it out, mate, as I see it. And these Liverpool fans who sit there and protect the club, protect this FSG ownership. When Arne Slot walks in, replacing one of the greatest managers Liverpool have ever had, instead of saying, right, Arne, this is going to be a tough job. We're going to give you 150 million to bring in some players to help you out. What did they do? Got in Federico Chiesa and left him with three of his best players still on a 12-month deal. All can leave on a free transfer. It's embarrassing, man. Don't worry, though. For the Liverpool fans that actually want to hear the truth, I'll speak the facts, while all your other fans like Neil in the chat just cover up actually what's going on. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. They just cover it up. FSG apologises, man. That's what they are. I'm a real football fan. I'll just say it how it is, man. Your club's a joke. The people running your football club's a disgrace.
LB's spitting, man. LB's cooking. I've got to agree with everything. I've got to agree with everything he's saying. Man, that's deserved as well, man. Everything you've just said is spot on, bro. And what amazes me is that Liverpool fans see Klopp leaving as, well, we'll just see what happens with Slot. No, man. You could be in a title race this season. And you could have won the league if you would have actually added to your squad properly, in my opinion. I don't think they're, 2-3 players away, in my opinion, Liverpool, from actually competing at the very, very top for the trophies that I think Manchester City will be competing for this season. And hopefully Arsenal. I really don't think they're that far away. But some of the Liverpool fans are so chill. And it's like, do you not understand? It would be an absolute disgrace and criminal if Trent Alexander-Arnold was allowed to leave on a free transfer. Do we not understand that, Liverpool fans? 25 years old. Yeah, he's won everything in football. That's probably not a great thing for that, though, because then he's thinking, what have I got to do? Stay here. Other than I am from Liverpool, that is it. Because he might look and assess, all three of them could quite easily be looking now and thinking, what are we going to do on the slot this season? How competitive are we going to be? And we're going to find that out in the coming weeks because their fixtures are an absolute disaster, by the way. Absolute disaster from now until the 3rd of December when they end on the Merseyside derby. They've got to play Arsenal. They've got to play Chelsea. They've got to play Newcastle. They've got to play Leverkusen. They've got to play Real Madrid. They've got to play Brighton twice in a cup game and a league game. These are not easy fixtures. So for me, you need to look seriously at what your board and what your ownership are doing. Because for me, I'd be crying out going, what's happening then? We're bringing in Marbadashvili. Does that mean he's going to be number one and Alisson's off? Is that how we're going to recoup some money? Trent could be off on a free. Van Dijk could be off on a free. Salah could be off on a free. Where does that leave us? From the winning team that has only won one in the last 30 years, by the way, Premier League, most of your team is now gone from that era. So you're now rebuilding again. And you're rebuilding with players like Darwin Nunez and Cody Gakpo and Harvey Elliott and young players like Curtis Jones who are still trying to come prove unproven, by the way. I just think it could be a disaster. Now, look, we're all looking here like Liverpool are in a mess and it's 12th place Liverpool. Liverpool's sitting top of the league and they've done very well. And I've been quite impressed by how Arne Slot has come in and we haven't really seen a drop-off from the kind of Klopp football that we were seeing. But really, when I look at Liverpool's results, Terry, I'm thinking, should have beaten Wolves, they did. Should have beaten Brentford, they did. Should have beaten Forest, they lost that one. Should have beaten Ipswich, they did. So I'm not going through their fixtures thinking, God, how the hell are Liverpool sitting top of that fixture disaster? They've actually beaten the teams I thought they'd beat, right? And they actually lost against Forest, I thought. This is where the test comes for Liverpool. As for the 3 players on 1 year left, my God, that is scary. I've been there. I was there with 2 years left. I was there with 1 year left with Robin Van Persie's of this world, with Alexis Sanchez and Ozil's of this world. It was a disaster at board level. That was where I was looking. I weren't looking at the players. I weren't even looking at the manager. I'm looking at the board saying, right, what are we doing here to keep our best players? And the answer was nothing. Now, what will happen is those players that have only got a few months left will look around and go, where's looking suitable if things don't work out here? They will be. Trent's already been on the phone to his best mate, Jude. What's it like over there at the moment at Madrid? Is there a place for me? Yeah, Danny Carvajal's going to be gone, mate. You're in. All right, cool. I'll go over there. It wouldn't surprise me if these players went, man. It depends what they win this season and depends how they finish this season. But it's nothing short of a disaster in terms of running a football club.
They didn't even, when Salah was asked in that interview a month or so ago about the contract, he just outed the club.
This is last season, yeah.
Bro, he just said, well, they've not offered me a new contract yet. So everything that Liverpool fans was telling us in the summer about, well, they're not signing players because they're trying to get the contract signed, lies. Salah exposed it as a lie on live television when he said the club haven't even offered him a contract yet. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
They have started the season very well. Top of the league. They look
on the pitch, just to clarify, on the pitch.
Yep.
I mean, like, to be fair, they've not really played anyone, but like fair play. Like
they look very, very good. And look, they've had some players like Gravenberch and McAllister doing well. But 3 of their best performing players this season is Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Mo Salah. If you took 3 of the very best players away from Arsenal or City at the end of this season, they're going to struggle the following year, especially when it's players of the level of those 3. Do you know how much money it would cost to replace the quality of Trent, Van Dijk, and Mo Salah in terms of the goal return? Right now, some people will say that Van Dijk's the best centre back in the world still. Fair enough. Let's just say he is. Who is even near him? You've got Saliba. Who else? That's attainable. Saliba is going to cost you over £100 million. Are Liverpool going to get him? Have they got the facilities? No. Who out there on the right-hand side is at Mo Salah's level, either quality-wise and or output-wise? Who have you got? You might think maybe Rodrigo at Real Madrid. There, you've got Saka. Who else is like of that level? They're not going to get him. They're not going to get Cole Palmer. I know he plays 10, but they're not going to get him. Who's the right back that's going to replace Trent? Who? I don't even think one exists. On the ball anyway, there ain't one that exists. And that's where
you could argue all 3 of them would get into like considered for World 11s. Like real talk, if you're doing World 11s, you would actually consider them. You might not pick them, but you would think, yeah, Trent, that's a good option. So is Van Dijk, so is Salah.
They're there or thereabouts. They should be breaking the bank to keep them, or keep 2 of them. And if they should have sold Mo Salah a year ago when they were being offered stupid money, 200 million. and then reinvest that in those. Maybe that's what they've got to work out here. Maybe we keep one or two of them. Maybe they give the deals to Van Dijk and Salah. Maybe they do. Again, Trent loves you. I'll do a deal with him and say, look, Trent, do a new deal, and we'll save for 150 million pounds the following summer, so he can raise the money to actually replace Salah in the future, as an example. Why
would he accept that though? Because he could go to Real Madrid now and get this massive.
No, I agree. This is something they should have got done already, if that makes sense. But I just look at it and think to myself, they look so good on the field of play right now. I can't fault them. But a big part of that is these three players who they could lose for nothing in the summer. And to be honest with you, the quality of those three, you've got the best ever attacker they've had in the Premier League era in Salah, maybe their best ever Premier League player. Maybe their best centre-back since Alan Hansen, but one of the greatest centre-backs in their history. Yep. I think the greatest right-back ever in their history. Even if you got top dollar for them money-wise, you're probably not going to ever have, not in the next 10, 20, 30 years, players as good as them again, because history shows that. History shows when great teams, all these great players, the idea of the next person that comes in, they're just as good is crazy. But to not have the money for them, it creates an even bigger gap, an even bigger gulf between what you're losing to what you can buy. For me, it would frustrate me if I was a Liverpool fan that you're such a good team, but three key components might leave for free in the summer. That is mad. It is genuinely mad, in my opinion.
No. I would just say I don't expect all three of them to leave. I would be if all three of them left, then bloody hell, that is insane. I think Van Dijk will stay, and I think Salah might stay. I don't think Trent's staying.
I would agree with that. Because I think the other two might sign an extension 1 year and stay there at Liverpool, but I don't think Trent will stay. I really don't.
No, I think Trent's looking at it saying, why would I be here at Liverpool, right? Liverpool not looking like they're going to be winning major honours like year after year sustainably for the next few years. He can just go Real Madrid. He'll have such an easy life playing in Real Madrid, right back. It all makes sense. Carvajal's now got an ACL. Yeah, he's probably going to retire from or leave Real Madrid anyway. He can go there, chill with Jude, Vinny, and Mbappe and that, play right back in Madrid, happy days. He doesn't upset Liverpool because he's not gone to a Premier League club. All right, they don't get a fee for him, but that's their fault for not giving him a contract earlier. But I just think that, I think they're going to keep Salah and Van Dijk, but that doesn't excuse it. Even if Salah and Van Dijk sign new contracts, Liverpool fans should be asking, how are you in this situation in the first place?
Yeah, and there's a comment here from Maradon, who we call Maradon the moron. So he says, so in capitals as well. So I'm going to read it in capitals. So what should you do when players get old, Terry? Keep resigning them. No, you sell them in their pomp. So if you're like now saying, oh, we shouldn't give Van Dijk and Salah any more deals. By the way, they're still amazing. Then you should have sold them 2 to 3 years ago and got the money and reinvested. Man United made this mistake. As much as I love Paul Scholes, as much as I love Ryan Giggs, as much as I love Rio and Vidic, when you look back now, hindsight's lucrative. We let them all get past. By the way, Scholes and Giggs were still dominating midfield, winning Premier Leagues in their last few years. But we should never have still been playing them at the twilight of their career. We should have moved them on. Some of them we should have sold or not renewed and invested that money into younger world-class talent. City do it brilliantly. Look what City did with Fernandinho to Rodri as a case in point. Rodri comes in and there is a crossover period. One can then leave, a new guy comes in as an example. What you guys should have done is found that world-class replacement 2 years ago for Van Dijk, 3 years ago for Van Dijk. You have a year or so of integration and crossover. Then you say, Van Dijk, thank you. You let someone buy him 70, 80 million pounds. You then reinvest that money into Salah's long-term replacement. There's a crossover period. You then sell Salah like you could have done last year, 200 odd million. Then you take that 200 million and you go, right, are you signing a new deal, Trent? No, boom. We're going to go and find. You go out and you buy Gusto as an example. Even now, you say, look, goody, look. I'm just making that name up. You go out and buy Ben White from Arsenal because he's looking really good. Or do you know what you do? He said, you know what? We've got 200 million for Mo Salah. Bang, we're buying Saka. We're making an offer they can't refuse. So this is my point. It's not just about what you do now. It's how have you got to this position where you've got two of the best players in the world that you're saying are too old to renew, that are going to go for free, who now become almost financially irreplaceable because you haven't generated the income from their quality. You have to get it right.
Yeah.
You've got it
and
wrong.
the thing is about this, about Van Dijk and Salah being too old. Bro, you judge them off the performances, not their age. You don't not give them a contract because they're getting on. You don't give them a contract when they're not performing on the football pitch, mate. I'll quite happily take Van Dijk at City. I'll quite happily take Salah at City if you don't want him because you think they're too old. What are you talking about? When you've got special players like this, like Terry's already said, Salah's probably the best player you've ever had in the Premier League. I think he's your best Premier League player of all time.
Yep.
You keep him until literally he
100%.
cannot move on the football pitch anymore. You don't just go, oh, you know what, he's 33, so we're going to get rid of him. What about if he does a Modric and keeps slamming it until he's 38? You're going to look like idiots. You might as well give him a contract. And then when you get to February, go, oh, he's pretty shit now, isn't it? He's lost his legs. And then let him go in the summer on a free and say, oh, well, at least we didn't make the mistake of saying, we know best, get rid of him. And then he's still playing top-level football in 5 years for Real Madrid or something like that. What are we doing here, man? Honestly, come on.
I agree.
Basically, what's got to happen is you've got to have a board that says, right, there's 2 years left on your contract. This is the contract we're offering you. Now I want to leave. Okay, we're selling you now. Not, oh, we'll have a think about it next year. And then a year after, oh, you've gone on a free now. Like, it really is quite simple when you think of it. Like, you are getting, that is the only job, or one of the only job of that person that they've got. Their role is to look at the squad, look at their contracts, and keep it together and keep it as a harmony. And when you've got players like that, at that level, coming to an end of a contract, it's nothing short of a shambles from the board. It really is. It's a sackable offence, in my opinion. Absolutely shambles.
No, it is a sackable offence.
It's crazy because it's just about managing it right. And again, I look back to how we behaved as a club towards the end of Fergie's era. And obviously the Glazers then weren't spending like they did after the new TV deal money, but we were almost like bodging it in a way. Like, okay, because I think if Fergie would have been able to do what he wanted, there would have been certain players that wouldn't have got new deals, certain players that would have been sold earlier. We would have, because I always remember when we didn't sign Aguero and Fergie sort of said, yeah, there's not a lot of value in the market. That was just his way of playing down the fact that they didn't have the budget to buy him. But that should have been like, that Aguero should have been a Man United player. Like, there's certain players that City was signing in that period, and I don't mean it rudely. We were such a bigger club, more successful team. We should have been getting them. We used to. We stopped because we stopped behaving like the elitist of the elite clubs. And the fact that Liverpool have got assets that 2 years ago on their deals collectively were probably worth £400 million that they're going to lose for free. You don't even have that quality playing for you, and you haven't generated an income from them. And it is crazy. It really, really is crazy. Dan, just win the league. You will spend fortunes, not even be in a final in 4 years.
So this is where me and fans like Donny LFC are different. Because instead of throwing Teddy in the corner and rattle out the pram like Donny LFC is doing, actually just raise the standards of your football club and call out your board, which are an absolute disgrace for letting this happen. Listen, I do that with my club. My club have been an absolute shambles for not winning something in 5 years, but I call it out. But fans like you don't, because you're scared, because you think it makes you a bad fan. It does
Donny's
not
right, though. Donny's right, though, bro. You do need to win something, innit?
Well, am I disagreeing with Donny's point?
and it really bad. What is crazy, and we were slagging off Ten Hag, and rightfully so, all this stream. He has won one additional trophy compared to Arteta.
Listen, he has 100%. He's won two trophies, and it is insane. But you cannot get defensive about what me and LB are saying when you're a Liverpool fan. I do not understand how you can defend what we're saying. It is absolute facts. Look, I hope they all go. I don't want any of them playing for Liverpool. I hope all three of them leave and Liverpool go brilliant. I absolutely want all three of them to go. So if you believe that we're talking nonsense, then just let them go. You don't need them. Go win the league with Harvey Elliott and all the rest of them.
As a Liverpool fan, huge respect for LB speaking the truth. What the top Reds should do. These people should call out the management instead of blaming Trent. LB, big up. Yeah, I never blame the players in this regard. When I was younger, I did the whole players have got to be loyal. Players have got to be loyal. And it was one of the moments with my dad. I remember sitting in the garden once. I don't know who I was moaning about. It was not a Man United player, somebody not being loyal. And my dad just, when your dad gives you one of them dirty looks, like you thick shit. When you're young, you say dumb things. He went, you want players to be loyal. He said the clubs are the most unloyal people in football because when they don't want you anymore, it's over. Because how many kids do they kick out of their academies every year? How many players do they sell that don't want to leave? Every now and then a player says, I want to go. But typically speaking, it's the club that get rid of players far more than the other way around. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And he went, players should do what's best for their careers. financially and on the field of play. And it looks to me like Trent's going to do a Steve McManaman, and he's going to go to Real Madrid for free. And I'm sure he's going to win big honours over there. On Arsenal, now they've been mentioned. I wanted to ask you, Potsy and LB, before the end of the show. Played well on Saturday. You kind of got through this period between the international breaks with the injuries quite well. But it does appear to have really rattled Arteta outers and rivals to a weird level. And I don't know if you've seen that. Just maybe what I've seen online. Just weird analysis, weird attacks, and just general frustration from the people that dislike you, pundits as well. How have you seen it the last few days as an Arsenal fan, or is this being blown out of proportion in your opinion?
I think if you go on social media, then it's not blown out of proportion. If you speak to people that you respect in the game, then you'll actually get genuine conversation that I think is actually quite interesting. When you go on Twitter, all I see is Bukayo Saka, Bukayo Saka, Bukayo Saka. There's a lot of people I've seen have a weird obsession with Bukayo Saka. I think he's a great player. Everyone else must think he's world class or something, because that's all I hear people doing is comparing him. Whenever he has a assist or a goal, I hear quite a lot on Twitter, and you go on Twitter and you say, have you seen this Potsy? Look at this Potsy. And I get sent quite a lot from people on Twitter. I ignore them. I never ever comment on them because that's what they want, right? But I look at it and I think, wow, just let the kid do what he's doing. It's not nothing world class. He's not got to levels, but actually he's doing quite well. If you think he's overrated, that's fine. It doesn't actually bother me, because he might be. If you believe that someone has said, I think Saka's as good as Cristiano Ronaldo was in the Premier League, you might go, oh, that's a little bit overrated, but he's doing well. That's fine. But does not mean that you can slate everything the kid's doing. So, look, I think he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for what he's doing at the moment. I think he's been in a really good form in the last few. 7 games, 9 GA now. That is incredible. I think what Havertz is doing deserves a hell of a lot of credit in terms of 1 goal in every 2 games since he's been playing as a 9 since the back end of January when he first started there. At the moment, they seem to have a good telepathy. But there does seem to be a weird scenario about Arsenal's start to the season. I don't think people like that we've got through this patch unscathed. And people will say, what can we get him with now? I'll tell you what, we'll call it M&S Tony Pulis football. Do you know what? If M&S Tony Pulis football sits as 1 point off the league and the same goal difference as Man City, I can't wait till we don't play Tony Pulis football and we start going free-flowing, because I'm happy with it right now. Look, some of our attacking isn't looking great at times, and it looked pretty unconvincing against Leicester and Southampton in parts, right? And that's going to worry fans, and rival fans are going to say, is that a concern? Of course it is, man. I want to blow teams away by 4 or 5 goals. But we scored 4 against Leicester. We scored 5 against in the League Cup. We got 2 against PSG, and we got 3 against Southampton. So we're not Tony Pulis ball. Let's try and lump it up and win 1-0, are we? Because we're scoring goals again now. And we're not even playing to our best yet with our players out. With Ødegaard, our apparently most creative player, out. So things are going all right at the moment. I just don't think rival fans like to see it. I think they thought, I can't wait for City to put Arsenal on their backside. City couldn't do it. City weren't able to beat us. Villa weren't able to beat us. Tottenham weren't able to beat us. And in the Champions League, we got 4 points out of 6. And apparently Arsenal don't look very convincing and are playing Tony Pulis football. I don't get it. 2 seasons ago, Terry, 3 seasons ago, maybe even decades ago, what did Arsenal do? They've only got one way of play, and they've got no defence, and they're a soft underbelly. Turn it round. I don't like these dark arts, and Arsenal playing defensive football. So we can't win them.
Tony Pulis football, yeah.
Tony Pulis football.
It's like you're going to the Britannia Stadium, bro. That's what's happening, man. You know what I mean? Robert Hoof at centre back. Come on, man.
This is what I mean. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. We're doing our thing. We ain't got into 3rd gear yet, in my opinion. I think that, if I'm honest with you, I don't think Man City have either. I will say that. I think that Arsenal and City at the moment are just trundling along. And I think it will really hot up. I think this is going to be a phenomenal season. But I don't get where it comes from. Look, I think rival fans don't like the fact that they might secretly think Arsenal could do something this year. And they're trying to do all they can to just shout it down. That's what I think it is. Because if you're going to be saying we only score goals from corners, when Saka's just been proven, by the way, that he's created the most from open play this season and ranking 1st in the Premier League, but he only takes corners, apparently. Corners are a massive part of the game. Set pieces are a huge part of the game. If we only scored headers from corners, I'll be thinking, crikey, can we do something else?
Do you know what I saw? Do you know what I saw? The people that are attacking Arsenal are the same people that will try and play down, say, Saka's goals by going, if you have to look at his non-penalty goals, he has the same as Jackson since the start of last season. So they did the non-penalty thing. Then a stat comes out that shows that if you take away penalty goals in 2024, Haaland and Kai Havertz have the same amount of goals. And I think this is what's happening to a lot of people online, is they are all, rather than just saying nothing or just going, oh, Arsenal are a pretty good team, you know, they're always looking for a reason to undermine it. But because now they are clutching at straws, everything they do ends up biting them in the arse. 2 weeks ago, because you had a hard start to the season, your attacking stats were sort of between 5th and 10th in the league, like passes into the box, chances created. But we all knew by the end of the games against Leicester and Southampton, it will level itself out. Now you're one of the top teams in the league for GA and progressions into the box because you played some of the smaller teams as well. And it's just rattled. It just rattled people. Again, ironically, it doesn't really rattle City fans. I think that's because City fans are very comfortable. You know, like they always say that if something's said that's a little bit homoerotic, you get those men that like, oh. It's like, bruv, why are you reacting like that? Are you a bit insecure in yourself, right? Is there something you're not telling us, right? I feel like City fans are very comfortable in themselves. So City fans, typically speaking, that I come across, don't really care. But it's others who I think spent year one of Arsenal getting better going, it's a purple patch, they'll fall off. Year two, they won't repeat it. They won't challenge again. This year, I think they thought you'd fall away early. And I do think you're right. I think they're looking at going, fuck's sake, they might actually do it this year. And instead of just saying that and accepting the reality, the levels that they are, the level of the barrel, that doesn't make sense. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel is what I was trying to say for excuses for why Arsenal are bad. They're wrong. They're proven to be wrong, and they're getting more and more rattled. And I'm not going to lie, I don't want to see anybody else but Man United do well, but I do enjoy watching people get rattled by Arsenal. It is absolutely one of my favorite little pastimes online to do. It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
It seems easily done. It does. And look, one thing I will say, there is a section of our fan base that will be insufferable if we win the Premier League or the Champions League. I can accept that, and I will admit that, and I will love to watch it, and I'll love to half join them, to be fair, right? But don't think that it's not the same in other fan bases. Chelsea have got this, Tottenham have got this, West Ham have got this, City, United, Newcastle, they've all got
Chelsea have definitely got it. Big up Don.
Oh, Chelsea have got Chelsea have 100% got it. So you cannot say that Arsenal are I can't have Arsenal winning the league. Yeah, I can't have Tottenham winning the league or Chelsea winning the league for the same reasons. Yeah, whoever wins the league is going to be insufferable. But I haven't actually minded Man City winning it because they haven't been insufferable, in my opinion, other than the weekend. Go on.
This is what I mean, though. Comment like this. This is why Terry gets cooked, putting Havertz and Haaland in the same sentence. See, this is the problem, CAA Mafia. You have not comprehended in any way, shape, or form what I was talking about. I didn't produce that stat, and I'm not saying they're on the same level. We all know Haaland is beyond clear as a striker. The point I'm making is you get Arsenal's haters and the Arteta outers who will pull up a stat to show that Saka's overrated because he has the same non-penalty goals as someone like Nico Jackson, only for them to look stupid a few days later because that same stat, when you compare Haaland and Kai Havertz, comes out the same. And that's because they know Saka's not an overrated player, but they're looking for an excuse to say that he is. And it's just hilarious to see people fall flat on their faces with what they're saying and doing. It's crazy. I look at it this way. Either come with genuine facts that can stand up against scrutiny or stop. You know, and I'm not saying you can't, you have to rate Arsenal, but you can't make up lies. I don't know who I saw. I saw a tweet from somebody saying we should exclude free kicks and corners from getting you assists. I'm like, imagine like KDB, LB, one of the best corner takers and free kick takers in Premier League history. Imagine that's suddenly not an attribute that matters. It's meant. Isn't it mental? Isn't it mental?
Insane.
People do it to Haaland, and I call it out the same. People go, Tyrion, he does this for Arsenal. No. When people say take away penalty goals, fools, tap-ins only, then why ain't everybody else tapping in balls like Haaland? Because it's a skill set that's fucking hard. Otherwise, everybody would doing it. If what Haaland does was easy, everybody would be breaking these records. What he does is beyond. Listen, there's less players that have done what Haaland has done as a football player in terms of scoring goals. Then listen, there are 100 people that don't even play Sunday League football that can do keepy ups and flicks and tricks and do skills. They're far easier than scoring goals at Haaland's level. But I don't get that. Maybe it's the FIFA generation. I'm not sure, but some of the stuff I see is so funny, man. It's hilarious.
No, that's just a modern football take, so isn't it? I think that's just the way it's like, you know what I mean?
I expect though to see a lot of comparisons this season with Palmer and Foden and Bellingham and Palmer and Bellingham. That's what I'm expecting next. Because apparently Lee Kazi's come out in an interview and said, no, them one or two of those three are going to get dropped, which tells me Saka's the right winger, so he's the one not getting dropped. That says a lot.
One of them kind of. I mean, the problem is that when we had this issue with centre backs for England for a long time in my childhood, where we had world class and top class centre backs like Gary Pallister and Steve Bruce that weren't in squads. You had players like Andy Cole not in England squads because we were so stacked. I actually think just picking all of those good attacking midfielders because they're all good is ridiculous, and then playing two of them out of position is crazy. I think if you think that Palmer's the best and Foden's second best, then you drop Bellingham. There's no point having all three of them in your squad. You don't need all three.
What's amazing, Terry, is when we were growing up, Adams and Bold and Pallister and Bruce, and hardly any of them were the centre-back pairing. You had Adams, of course. Bruce never got an England cap, which is mad. And Steve Bold hardly played for England at all. And they were like part of two of the best partnerships around in the 90s, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's insane. So, look, I'm with you 100%. And I think there's a place for all of them. I actually do think you put one of them left. Maybe it's Saka. Maybe it's Palmer. Maybe you want to put on the left-hand side. But for me, you can put them all in. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, for sure.
Now, you had that also with Lee Dixon. Like, Lee Dixon... he played a bit, but as soon as Gary Neville established himself, he rarely got game time. And I just think that this is what happens. And right now, I know Foden hasn't started the season well, but right now, if I'm dropping one of those three from the England squad, it's actually Jude Bellingham. Palmer can't be dropped. No, I mean it. It's not even a dig. It's not a dig.
PR on that guy is unreal, man.
I like all three of them, but honestly, I do think with Foden, with Foden, I don't want to see him played in multiple positions. But you know what? If you've got him in your squad as a backup 10, if there is an injury on the left, he can go there. Does that make sense? Palmer, if there's an injury on the right, can go there. With Bellingham, if he isn't playing that attacking midfield role, he's not a great central midfield player. I think we've got, he can't play on the wings. So it's like, again, right now, I'm only basing it on current form, I'd go Palmer, Foden, Jude Bellingham in that attacking midfield role. I really would right now.
Yeah,
I'm game for that. I agree. I think for me, Bellingham's the most overrated one out of the four. He's at the bottom of my list.
Interesting. I mean, I think you could get them all in. I think Jude playing alongside Rice could work, and then you put Foden 10 and then Palmer, Saka either side with Kane up top. That could work. One of them's got to go left, though. That's the problem.
Kane, don't get me started on that guy, man. Harry Kane, mate. Who's our next? Who's the one that's coming up, man? I was so good. I almost started crying when I found out John Duran was Colombian, mate. Yeah, honestly, I thought he was English. Me, I was like, come on, get this guy in for Harry Kane. And then someone dropped it in the chat, says Colombian. I was wounded because we need to get rid of him, man. Nah, we're not going to win anything with him up top. Harry Kane, he ain't got it. Wow. He ain't got what it takes.
Still scoring goals, though, isn't he?
No, I don't like him. No.
I do think we have to start looking beyond him now because when I watch Harry Kane play, I do see a player who I think is going to age out really quickly. I feel like his decline will be quite rapid. And I think we saw, you watched him against Villa the other day, a strong, fast team. He just looks so ineffective.
Hey, bro,
so ineffective.
Watkins is the next one in line, man. It's either Watkins or Solanke, isn't it, after them?
As well. I reckon it'd be Liam Delap, the way he started. It could be him.
Yeah, he looked really good.
I like him. I must say, I like him. Yeah.
You can't play Foden. I mean, would you play Bellingham as a number 9?
I don't. I'd rather play Bellingham as number 9 than Kane.
Jeez.
I really don't like Kane. I must say, I really don't like it. I think I know he scores goals and that, but like, bro, sometimes the guy stinks the gaff out. And Terry's right, man. I think when he loses it, he'll lose it quick. Because he was so poor the other night, man. The guy couldn't move.
Yeah, it's all right scoring goals when you play the minnows in Europe, but you have to You have to look at the performances against the bigger and the better teams. He looks like his hips hurt nowadays. It looks like he's playing with like like my granddad. Do you know what I mean? Them hips don't look great. Do you know what I mean? I bet when he sits down at home, he goes, ugh, like old man noises. I do that. I'm 38. Do you know what I mean? I make a noise when I sit down and stand up. I bet Kane is moving into that realm. Do you know what I mean? Where his knees just need to rest a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Kane. Palmer ends up at striker, in my opinion. No, he's not a number 9. He's not a number 9. If all of them go, we deserve all that's coming. Oh, about Liverpool, that is. Yeah, makes more sense.
Yeah, facts. That's fair.
No, you will. Look, I want to thank everybody that's tuned into the show today. It is always a great pleasure to sit and talk with you two gentlemen about football. To all of the viewers, super chatters, everyone who's hit the like button, thank you all. We're back with more content later on today. I was hoping the news would break while we were live, but it hasn't. But there we go. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Ten Hag out.